David De Gea had his penalty missed. Should have gone straight to penalties in the first place.
I must admit, there were some great penalties.
Yeah.
I have to say, there were some absolutely fantastic penalties, including the Villarreal goalkeeper. Now, the big talking point going into the game, or one of them was, and this has got no bearing on his goalkeeping performance, was who was going to start. Was it Henderson or De Gea? It was De Gea, and ultimately you got to feel sorry for a goalkeeper missing a penalty because it's not the forte. But first, let's get out of the way. Villarreal, fantastic, right? Man United, it's not about winning the Europa League. They've seen that movie before under Moreno in recent years. This is one of the biggest clubs in the world. It's a stepping stone if they had won it. But for Villarreal, magnificent. I was reading Sam Wallace from the Telegraph earlier. They've got a budget less than Southampton and Crystal Palace. They've got a manager who's been there, seen it and done it. In this competition, in particular with Sevilla, he's done it again. And on the other side of the ring, you have a man who should not, and I've been saying it for a couple of years now, a man who should not be managing Manchester United. He's a serial loser. He's a serial loser. He's now lost a final. He's been pumped out of, 4 semi-finals at least. They were out of all the domestic competitions. They were in a good place in the Champions League group stages, and they blew that as well. His team selection was awful. Rashford didn't look right. Then he kept him on. He took Greenwood off. He's out his depth, and I've been saying that for a long, long time. If they'd won this tonight, I would still have been saying the same thing. But I think, to me, that's just absolute proof, if needed, and it's not needed for me, that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is only managing this club, Dan, because he was a former player.
Ali, if Unai Emery was in charge of Manchester United, would they have won today?
Yes, because that would have meant that he was not in charge of Villarreal. And what you saw from Villarreal today was a team that was so well organized and so clear as to what their purpose in the game was. This game, even though Manchester United had all the possession in the world, was played at the pace that Villarreal wanted it to be played at. Never did you see Villarreal under true, real pressure. Whenever they were put under pressure was because of their own turnovers trying to come out of the back. It wasn't because Manchester United were creating all sorts of chances or somebody was taking on players in 1v1 situations or the passing game of Bruno Fernandes or Paul Pogba. None of that was happening, and a lot of it had to do with how well organized Villarreal was and how well prepared they were. And when you see a team that is as well prepared as this team was, then you have to say Unai Emery plays a factor. We had this discussion yesterday. How important is it that a guy who has won this competition 3 times, that he's managing a team? Well, he knows exactly what his team was all about, and this team in particular was very close to whatever he had at Sevilla all those years that he won. It was a similar makeup to the group, and you saw a similar performance. Villarreal, outstanding in the way that they approached the game and in the way they controlled the game. Unai Emery, outstanding. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, not so much.
Frank, from a United perspective, watching this game, you kind of thought they were going out as if this was the first leg. Keep it tight in the first leg, don't do anything silly, we'll take them back to Old Trafford and we'll get the win. Because there was just no fire, no spark for a European final.
Well, it's hard to analyse and explain everything in a final. You don't play a final, you don't try to play well, you just try to win a final. I played many finals in my life, and I have to say that I would say half of them were bad games, but we won it. And especially the Cup Winners' Cup final that we played against Stuttgart. But that's a mentality that you have to have. And it's true. We felt that that club, Manchester United, shouldn't be in the European League final because we all know that they deserve to be, well, they should be in the Champions League. Now saying that, they have to confirm that being there in a, let's say, lower competition, they have to do everything to win it and show their superiority. But football is much more complicated than that, and Villarreal showed them that even if you are a strong historical club, you have to fight hard and maybe give 100% to maybe win. And it's what they didn't do. They thought maybe in some players' head that they were superior to Villarreal and didn't do what they had to do or the maximum they had to do to win it. And that's as simple as that. A final is very special and Villarreal did everything to win it. And I saw the confidence that they had in the penalties that they took, where I felt that Manchester United were always at the edge, and especially in those penalties. And at some point, somebody will miss it. that was the conclusion of it. That was the conclusion of a game that Manchester United, didn't do everything to win it.
No, anybody can lose a final, right? It happens. It can happen. Villarreal, 7th in La Liga, small budget, as I mentioned, experienced manager, some experienced players, but nothing compared to the budget that Man United have. But even in a La Liga this season, that by even people that follow it regular, it's been a pretty average La Liga season. The teams have struggled in Europe, and Atletico over the line. But the goalkeeper hardly had anything to do, the Villarreal goalkeeper. I mean, there was lots of possession, but they're getting nothing from the right-hand side. Wan-Bissaka's a good defender.
Two shots on target, 120.
2 shots on target, good pace, doesn't offer much going forward. Will get forward, but end product not great. Luke Shaw's had a great season, but, once again, didn't get much in terms of crosses in. Fernandes was, on the missing list. Pogba, bang average. McTominay was probably their best player from the middle of the park for long periods, driving forward. But people tell me, and I've heard some people say about how Man United now have an identity under Solskjaer. Tell me what it is. Somebody tell me what it is. You look at Man United, you look at Man City, you look for identity, you look at Dan slick passing, fullbacks tucking into the midfield, high pressing. You look at Liverpool when everybody's fit and they're in their pomp, and even an ardent Man United fan would have to say Liverpool's form this year has been down to injuries. When they're all fit, what's the identity under Klopp? It's high pressing, it's energy, it's pace, it's power. They swarm you. What's United's identity? Give it to Fernandes. Try and get Pogba in the game. Sit and defend for a little bit and hit on the counter-attack. What's their identity? Their identity is their manager. The manager has got his head in the clouds at key moments. He hasn't got the experience. He hasn't got the resume of a Tuchel, certainly of a Klopp, and of a Guardiola. These top managers, Antonio Conte, who's left Inter Milan today, love him or loathe him, track record.
Yeah.
Hasn't got a track record. His track record was he was a United player. And yet somehow that has washed and bought over some of these analysts who won't admit it, but are buying him a bit of time because they either played with him or they know him. This is Man United. This is a side that are getting their backside whopped by Liverpool and Man City. This is a side that can't even win the Europa League now. This is a side that are not dining at the big table in European football, and yet they continue to say, we're going in the right direction. We have the right man in charge. Who really believes that? Who really, really believes they have the right man in charge? When it comes to the crunch and all the big games that Solskjaer's managed at this club, they have lost. That's not fantasy analysis, that's fact. And here's another one tonight against a side that they should have been smothering, they should have been peppering that goal, and Villarreal should have been on their feet at the end, because United should have torn them apart with the difference in squad and the difference in budget. But they didn't. They didn't, and that's down to two things. Maybe a bit of arrogance from one or two players, who knows, certainly bad performances, but it's down to the fact they do not have a manager who's going to cut the mustard for this football club going forward. And I'm fed up telling people that, but I'm telling you, until I go to my grave, I'm right about this one.
What about those who would say this is always going to be a tough task for United once Harry Maguire?
No, not like Harry Maguire. The club captain for Villarreal was on the bench. You got Foyt playing at right back with the headband, and Tottenham let him go. You know what I mean? And before we go back to this is a smokescreen. This second in the Premier League is a smokescreen. Let me tell you, everybody else has imploded this year apart from Man City. The 74, and you know I love my points. The 74 points that United have accrued this season under Solskjaer, and the previous 4 seasons would have got them third, fifth, and sixth, right? So stop telling me there's progress at this club, right? It's 1 step forward and 2 steps back. They won't change the manager because they haven't got the stomach to do it. They won't change it because they haven't got the drive to do it or the willpower at boardroom level. They're fantasy people. They just want to make money. They try and hoodwink the fans. But they need to get, if they want to challenge, if they want to get into the real game with City and Liverpool, and I've always said that Liverpool will be back, Chelsea will be strong. If they want to get in the real game with Bayern Munich as well at European level, and Real Madrid and Barca, they're going to have to hire themselves a proper manager, right? Otherwise, we're just going to dine out in these conversations for weeks and weeks and months, and it'll be the same old. Decent now and again, but not good enough.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.